I'm going to move on to the next speaker, who lives in the very real world of the European Commission and has actually very real money to give away. So those are people we always like a great deal. Lynn Matthiessen, head of Infectious Diseases and Public Health Unit, DG Research and Innovation, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about the Horizon 2020, which is, when we hear that, we hear, of course, 80 billion for research and development. That is not all for health. I think we also have to fly to the moon with that and do all kinds of other things. But the question, of course, is how much of that can go to research and development for neglected diseases, and how can we make sure that there where the greatest need is, the greatest money goes to. So how does that work? Talk to us about it.
Yeah, Lynn. So d'abord, bon anniversaire.
Well, to begin with, a very happy birthday to the DNDi. I'm going to speak in English, but I can answer questions in French if there are after.
Talking about Horizon 2020, I want to go just very briefly back to the history, because the European Union actually have for 20 years, next year, been funding research on neglected infectious diseases. So what we achieved over these 20 years has first of all been to bring the top scientists together in our projects, because we don't fund individual researchers. As many of you will know, we only fund collaborative research. At least 3 countries need to be involved. So we managed to bring the best scientists around the world to address the neglected infectious diseases, and this has been scientists, and still is scientists, working in academia, in companies, but also in the small and medium-sized enterprises. We have done a big effort, in particularly in the last years, to mobilize the small and medium-sized enterprises, and that is actually something which has not been mentioned today, the role of the SMEs in developing of new drugs or vaccines. What we also managed to do, which has not been easy, 10 years ago, we created, together with the EU member states, the European and Developing Countries Clinical Trial Partnership, which is a partnership between Europe and sub-Saharan African countries with the aim to develop new or improved treatments and prevention strategies against HIV, malaria, and tuberculosis. So for the first time, actually, we managed to get the member states to work together and pool their resources, coordinating their activities to, in a first step, to create the capacities in sub-Saharan Africa countries to do good clinical trials. And it was mentioned by some of the speakers in the previous session, also the added value of EDCTP in investing in this. But also EDCTP managed was obviously also to launch some clinical trials, in particular to improve the treatment, among others, of pregnant women with malaria, etc. So now we are just in a few weeks, we are going to launch the next framework program, which is called Horizon 2020, so it will start 1st of January. One of the societal challenges is health, demographic changes and well-being, and it is mainly within that area that you, or that challenge, that you will see the specific funding for neglected infectious diseases. Of course, we are still in the phase of, so that program will be running for 7 years, and one of the flagship of Horizon 2020 will be the launch of the second phase of EDCTP. So EDCTP 2 which we are nearly coming to an end of negotiations with the European Parliament and the Member States on how much money the Commission should put into this effort. And of course, what we will do, in particularly under Horizon 2020, which certainly is one of my goals, because I'm responsible for making sure that we spend in the best way the public money that we have been given by you, because back to the member states, all the money comes, at least from the Europeans, to Brussels, is to make sure that we get results as quickly as possible, but also spend our money in the best way. And for that, I think we really need to go to a stronger way of collaboration between all partners. So, first of all, of course, we will build on the success and what we managed to do in previous programs to work with member states. So EDCTP will be stepped up, nearly, hopefully, a threefold increase in the budget, but also extended its mandate to cover the neglected infectious diseases. So continue to work with the member states and coordinate their activities. But we also want, and we are moving already in that direction, is to not only work with Europe, but really going global and work with other major funders, first of all, that are active in the area of neglected infectious diseases or other areas of infectious diseases, because many of the problems obviously need a global approach. As also was said, unfortunately, the pathogens are often a bit more intelligent than we are, and I think one of our goals is to make sure that we are more intelligent and than the pathogens and can combat them. So, just to give you a concrete example of what we are currently working on is, so first of all, to try to coordinate the funding, but also make sure, I think one of the critical issues at the moment when you move into the very expensive clinical trials is to make sure that we actually invest in the best candidate with the scarce resources we have. So we know we can't put, ideally, all our money on all the candidates that are out there in the drug or the vaccine candidates. So currently we are working on a rather challenging, and I can assure you it's not easy, but we are very committed to succeed. We are working to try to develop a global portfolio management of TB vaccine candidates. So we are working actively with the Gates Foundation, the European Investment Bank, ARES and TBVI, so some of the main actors in that field, to see how can we actually pool our resources and also find a way of comparing all the candidates and ensure that we invest in the most promising candidate. Of course, we also work very closely with industry or the academia that are the IP owners in this field. I can also say more generally that the vaccines will be, in the first years of the implementation of Horizon 2020, one of our main priorities, but of course we will also continue, and in EDCTP also the drug testing of the drug will be among the priorities.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I guess when your battle with the Parliament is over, we'll know how much money you will have to spend. But we do hope that that is significant more than before, of course. Thank you very much for that.